Keep going. It's $75,000 to $100,000 before we go to trial. Now, I'm not saying it would be the same here, but it's going to be expensive. And of course, in this country, well, let me say it this way. In this part of the country, plaintiffs are given extraordinary leeway when they sue a corporation. And, remember, you've seen those legal shows on TV. It's always some poor person was violated by this company that is creating some environmental nightmare. Corporation's always the guy in the black hat. The plaintiff's always the person that is being breached in some way. Well, guess what? In this scenario, you're the guy wearing the black hat. And the feds have set it up that way on purpose. Because remember what, at least my opinion is, it's a money grab. And nobody can dispute the fact that the feds need the money. We talked about damage to your reputation, loss of potential new business, possibly discounting your services. If this high standard is not going to be cited in civil litigation, and potentially criminal investigations, depending on the assessment of final rules. So the moral of the story today is be prepared, understand that this exposure is out there, and take steps to mitigate it or be prepared now, so on the off chance it happens, you know how to deal with it. Know in advance which state, federal, and local law enforcement agencies you need to be that need to be contacted. If the OCR comes knocking on your door, they're going to give you a litany. Remember there was that list earlier in the presentation. They're going to give you those things. They're going to say you have 20 days to comply. 20 days. Do it. Protect your systems. Maybe have your IT folks come in and do some forensic investigation and make sure that privacy is tight. Know your time constraints. How long does it take to do all the contacting you need to do? Have some idea of what legal counsel you're going to use. I can help you with that. But have a plan. Think about it in advance. The example or the analogy I always like to use is fire insurance. Everybody's got fire insurance on their house. Most, if not everybody in this room, probably has a fire extinguisher located in your house somewhere. You all have fire alarms. You all have a plan. You've all told your kids what to do if there's a fire. You have a plan. So think about it this way. I don't think the odds are great you'll have a breach, but I think there's certainly a possibility. Know what you're going to do if you have to establish credit monitoring services, identity theft management, call centers. How would you respond, or how would you tell your staff to respond when they get called? What about statements to the press? Because you have to do a press release. How about social media, Facebook, Twitter? How are you going to respond? What are you going to do? Talk about this with your staff and document that you had a meeting. Because the OCR will ask you if there is a breach. Like I said earlier, test and update your technical systems. Monitor the malware. As I said earlier, consider transferring the risk, consider buying insurance. I would encourage you to talk to your agent, talk to us. We have a great product for this. No hard sell, no obligation. As I said earlier, right now, the most frequent breaches we've seen have come from laptops / handhelds, smartphones. Mine goes laptops. really control who has access to the laptops, control who has access to the data via your system. There are some dentists I know that allow their staff to do charting at night and be able to log into their data at night so they can update charts. I'm not saying it's okay or it's not okay, I don't know. At least know who has access to the data. As you guys know, a lot of these mobile devices have very little or no security on them. And if we know it, the thieves certainly know it. You know, it's interesting. We had a laptop stolen. This is some years ago in my office. My sister company, has a practice management software, was doing some work on a dentist, and he had his data there, and the laptop was stolen. This is a number of years ago, prior to the data being encrypted. And we jumped through all the hoops, we paid for the credit monitoring, did everything we needed to do. This is before the high-tech era. And luckily, nobody's identity was stolen. It was a matter of, I think, somebody wanted a laptop. But in today's environment, if somebody steals a computer just to sell a computer on the black market, you got a breach. Because the feds are lowering the standards. You know, from our position, this dentist position, it was before the laws were in place, and really before I was aware that this was a big exposure to dentists. But it still caused us some heartburn, let me tell you. Because we did notify all of the patients, and we did monitor their credit. Disk drives, backup tapes. Make sure you have adequate backup to your data. There's a variety of ways to do it. I will tell you, we've had a number of water, fire, smoke claims. We've had some thefts where the data is not backed up. And, you know, if you don't have your patient data, including your calendar, you know what? We lost. And what we had in those cases, more than you would think, by the way, the dentist and the staff thought they were backing up the data, but they never tested the backup to see if it was actually working. They just presumed it was. So talk to your software vendor about proper ways to do backup. Okay? Very, very important. Cyber's here to stay. Hopefully, by joining us, you understand that there's an exposure, there's a risk, and hopefully I've given you some points to think about in terms of preparing the plan. It's not going away anytime soon. In fact, all expectations are it's going to get worse. So what's the key to your survival? Talk to a data breach expert. There's one I've listed on the last slide. Do a privacy, security, compliance assessment. Train your staff. Consider insurance. Know who to call if the worst happens. My email address, Melissa's email address, and Ian Kelly. He is an expert in medical breaches. His company is putting together a kind of a risk assessment for dental practices. I don't know that he's completed it yet. He may have. I always let Ian know when I do one of these classes to expect some calls. Feel free to call him, use my name, and talk to him about any concerns you have. These people are really, really good at what they do. So that's all I have. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Chris, can you address, I think it was brought up about off-site logging services. The one I'm familiar with is LogMeIn, and there's also these GoToMeeting sites. What do you know about those?
LogMeIn services, GoToMeeting. I can tell you the only thing I know when I've done some research on this, I've actually used them, and I was concerned about security, and they claim they're secure, and that's all I know. Once again, as I said earlier, is they're gonna track, if there's a breach, they're gonna track the data back to who owns the data. So, I don't believe, in an instance where you had a go-to-meeting and you were sharing PHI for some reason, that they would go to meeting. I think they'd come to you. You may have a course of action to go back to the vendor, but the feds are always going to do a beeline to the owner of the data. What's your question? The question is, if you have Norton, it doesn't protect you. Norton helps. These hackers are very, very sophisticated. And I listened to an interview with some White House official. It was the fellow from the Department of Defense. And he says the hackers are one step ahead of us. I mean, he came out and he said, look, we're getting hacked every day. They're one step ahead of us. So I'll go back to what I said earlier. If a hacker can get into the Department of Defense computers, if they choose to, they probably can get into anybody.
Are they actually getting in and
Yes,
compromising? Or
they are.
just
Yes. They are getting in and compromising according to this gentleman. Now, he didn't say what they were compromising, but he said they were getting in and extracting data and compromising the system. Anything else? Any general questions about this? Yes.
Yeah, what operating systems does it follow?
Well, the only thing I will say, because I don't know the answer to that, and I don't want to get sued. But let me say it this way: our client in Portland used a system called OpenDate. I don't know anything about them. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but apparently it was cloud-based and.
That's not what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Operating system would be something like Microsoft.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Apple has, or a Unix-based system, those would be operating.
Oh, I thought you were talking about practice management system. I don't know the answer.
As any most of the practice management systems today are probably Microsoft.
The ones I'm aware of are,
Yeah.
but I couldn't answer that. Any other questions about anything regarding this matter? All right, I got you out of here early. Thank you all.